Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us. This is the Beef Brunch update for Tuesday, March 5th. As you can see, two of our normal colleagues that are with us are not here this week. They're actually on a trip with Louisiana Farm Bureau over in Florida right now. But somehow Vince and Tripp and I are gonna manage to give y'all the best update we can without them, right? So we'll go ahead and just jump right into some events that we just had get completed. So my name is Brittany Zonbrecker. I serve in the Central Region as a beef and forages agent here. I'm domiciled in St. Landry Parish. We had a couple of events happen recently in St. Landry Parish. February 22nd and 23rd, we had our breeding soundness exams over at Dominique's Stockyard in Opelousas. We had, I believe, in total, we had tested 35 bulls that came through from, I believe, 6 different producers. So we had that over 2 days, and we had a really good turnout for that as well. There are several other areas that that have BSEs that are coming up that we'll tell y'all a little bit about. Actually, I don't have any more coming up, but we do have other parts of the state where we have had some of those happen as well. Another event that we just had take place this past Saturday, the St. Landry Parish Cattlemen's Association had their 38th annual Here's the Beef Cook-Off here in Opelousas. It was my first time attending that event, and they had a really great turnout. A lot of support and participation from the community and surrounding areas, and a lot of local support from St. Landry Parish government as well for that event to take place. And it was just a great Saturday. We had beautiful weather, and it was great to see so many people out and supporting the beef industry, and got to sample quite a bit of lots of very good beef dishes, some that I would say I probably personally had not tried before, but I stepped a little bit out of my comfort zone and had some of those. So, but it was a great event, and I'm definitely looking forward to attending that next year as well. Vince will talk in just a minute a little bit about some of the conditions that we're seeing in our pastures. Just from a couple of things that I've been seeing as well, I just want to just remind everybody that just having a good grazing and pasture management plan and being preventative in that plan is a really good way to get ahead of a lot of the problems that we have been seeing come up in some pastures of recently. So the first thing that you want to do when you are trying to be preventative is, of course, you need to do a soil test, right? So you want to make sure that that pH is optimal for whatever you're trying to do there. We've seen a few soil samples come back recently that had a low pH, so they'll need to add some lime to those pastures and hay fields to get their pH up to where it needs to be. We also want to keep in mind, of course, the stocking rates that you have, right? You want to make sure that you're not overstocking and overgrazing those pastures, right? And you want to also make sure you are giving them time to recover from those grazing periods. I've seen a couple people in our area that have a really good rotational grazing plan that they do, and you can really see a difference in those pastures and just the health of those pastures overall, and what's happening there. And it just gives you just better quality forage, and just improves the health of the ecosystem all around. So let's see, other thing that I have, just as far as an update, we do have all around the state, all of our parish programs are conducting our advisory leadership council meetings. So those are parish wide. So from our ag and natural resources, 4-H, nutrition, community health, we have people in all of those areas that are meeting in each of the parishes to just talk about our plans moving forward. and what we can do to help our producers and the citizens in our parish with our programs. So if you have not gotten, to your parish and had any suggestions that you wanted to get in, make sure you get in contact with your parish extension agents so you can get your voice heard in the process of planning our programs. I will go ahead and turn it over to Vince now, and he's going to give y'all some updates on the conditions we've been seeing.
Thank you, Brittany and Trip. Yeah, it's like a wow factor has taken over with these warmer temperatures. We had some rain a couple of weeks ago. A lot of producers got out and put some top dress out on some of these winter planted forages, and they're really getting aggressive as far as growth. And we went from a state of those who do have a rotational and management scheme behind what they're doing on their ranches and their farms. There's plenty grass right now, as far as what was planted in the fall and what was marginal through the winter. Putting that extra shot of nitrogen has really gotten things moving. But we're also seeing a sea of yellow coming. So the ranunculus or the buttercup family is going to get aggressively growing with spring setting on. We always have an issue with that, and 2,4-D is a good option to control some of that. But once you see the flowering effect or the floral display, it's a little bit too late in most cases. So we should have made those applications probably back 60 days ago when things were still in the rosette stage, prostate to the ground. But you still can take some of that control back and not really injure your ryegrass. But you will see a stunning if you apply 2,4-D or 2,4-D derivative, 2,4-D amine, and there are several different generics of 2,4-D that will offer some control, but it will offer some stunning as well. So at that half pint rate, we can get good control on buttercup and still not affect our white clovers too much. When we get into our red clovers and some of the Persian clovers on our alluvial soils here locally, it'll just any amount of 2,4-D will annihilate Persian clover and have some great effects on some of the red clover. So be cautious of that. As we talk about clover, I've heard a few complaints of some bloating issues. So be mindful of that. Put some bloat blocks out. Some people swear by adding dish detergent to their water troughs to help break some of that foaming or have that effect to that gut and the swelling, the gas issues related to overeating clover. So folks who have had their cattle on dry pastures and moving into a lush green situation could reasonably see some bloating effect that may cause some mortality. So or some injury. So you want to make sure that you get those bases covered and use the forage in moderation. And where we have an overabundance of forage, start thinking, hey, we've had a lot of volunteer ryegrass come up in hayfields. I had a lot of calls, not a lot of calls, but some just out of curiosity, if they went on and fertilized that ryegrass and to see if they could get a cutting of hay out of it early rather than waiting to see what the summer is going to bring. Because up until today, we're having rains today, and it's very sporadic in our area. North Louisiana, I don't think is going to see the rains we're going to see in central and southeast Louisiana based on the forecast. We're dry, folks, so take advantage of those volunteer crops coming, of winter grasses. Use a little broadleaf control in there, clean them up, get the old hay cutter ready, and maybe make a cutting of hay sometime in April, late April, early May, and get a jump start on putting some hay up. And to producers who make their own hay, don't be so aggressive to sell hay this year. We saw a lot of that last year, selling that early cutting of hay. I'm just going to recommend from a practical standpoint, I have my own hay equipment. I do my own hay baling. I always try to keep everything that I can early to make sure my needs are met and not be so aggressive about wanting to sell hay because we get in a position. I've had several producers last year looking for hay when things got short because they sold too much on the front end. So I just want to make people aware that we haven't had the rains we needed this winter, and we're faced with a dry situation as we do these USDA NASS reports. Our subsurface moisture, subsoil moisture is still below par. I've heard of people trying to set fence posts and you get down 5 or 6 inches, it's powder house dry. So we want to make sure that people realize that we are not out of the woods yet on this drought situation, even though the drought monitor says at the surface we are. Subsurface, we are still in a situation where it could go negative quick. So be aware of that. Some other things Brittany mentioned, some herbicide control, get an early start on that, and do some preventative maintenance on hay pastures. Try to get out there as early as you possibly can and make that cutting of hay before we go off into June, July, and August, and possibly be faced with another droughty 100-degree span of weather that just depletes everything and starts running everything backwards. As we work on our ag summary for the year of 2023, we're looking at cattle numbers, and cattle numbers, as we all know, have drastically reduced due to drought conditions in Louisiana and the Southeast, and probably some areas of Texas. Texas actually probably had more rain than we did in some spots, but we also want to keep in mind the wildfires in the panhandle up in North Texas, how devastating that can be. And I'm starting to see on social media a lot of hay coming up for sale. If you can justifiably support some of those needs in Texas, absolutely try to get in contact with your local Cattlemen's Association, Farm Bureau, or somebody that can and help arrange trucking. Those people are in desperate need right now, and that's only one factor that can diminish our cattle industry situation right now even further. So we want to make sure that we try to help our neighbors. I know Louisiana Cattlemen's Association recently put out a need for helping those in the panhandle. So if you can, please do. And I know there's some hay supplies that people have ordered through the winter feeding period. Now we're greening up. If you can spare a truckload, please send it on, because during hurricane season, we surely get very appreciative whenever those needs come our way. So I'll close with that. And spring calving season, we're kind of in the middle. We have 2 calving seasons in South and Central Louisiana. We're kind of getting ready to start our what we call our spring calving season. Keep those calving boxes close to you, jacks, chains, and OB gloves, and whatever lubricants you might need to assist. And get your bulls BSE checked. As we'll get into April and May, be time to put bulls out again. There's a lot of bull sales and stocker cow sales coming up. So there's plenty to be had, and I'm sure that there's always a need. And there again, no triple cover the markets, but the cattle market is exuberantly high right now, especially on kill cows and kill bulls. So if you have one that's not doing the job and you like looking at it, that's one thing. But if you like looking at a negative balance in your checkbook, that's not a good thing. So you can't really fall in love with them. Sometimes you just got to let them go. And I've had that question here recently about what you think I should do. I said, if it weighs anything and it's not doing you any good at home, get it to market, because they're valuable right now. So I'll close with that. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and hopefully we can help make better decisions for you.
Over to you, Trip.
Trip, it's on you.
I'm just going to piggyback on a few things Vince said. Vince, that was a great update for your region. A note on the wildfire. We're recording this Monday, the 4th. As of this morning, 1,100,000 acres had been burned. It's devastation doesn't even cover it. It's a heartbreaking situation. 2 people have lost their life in the fight. Right now, the estimated number of cattle lost is 5,000, but it's expected that whenever they really put pen to paper, it's going to be much greater than that, looking into the tens of thousands and possibly into the multiple tens of thousands. So anything that we can do to support our brothers and sisters in the Panhandle in Western Oklahoma up there, I highly encourage you to do that, whether that's helping financially and keeping them in your thoughts and your prayers, because we are in a state that is accustomed to dealing with disaster ourselves, and we know how much that help is needed. So if we're in a chance where we can help somebody else, I highly encourage our producers to do that. Vince talked about a minute ago how it's beginning to dry up. It's very impressive to me how quickly we can go from just about needing a boat to get to the extension office to being borderline powder house dry in the state of Louisiana. If we're getting good rain outside today that we really needed, but it had started getting pretty dry on us. If we hadn't gotten rain today and some more rain's predicted over the next couple of weeks, we were about to be in pretty tough shape again because this ryegrass is growing at such a rapid pace. It pulls copious amounts of moisture out of the water. So whenever you got that green grass growing, you need to be getting some rain to help support it. So thankfully, we're getting a little bit of that today, and with some luck, we'll get some more of that over the next couple of weeks. But guys, Monday, I don't know what it was, but it was like a light switch turned on in Northeast Louisiana, and everybody woke up and decided it was time to farm. Because I got caught behind chicken litter trucks, I got caught behind fertilizer buggies. I was back and forth between our office in Union and the office down in Franklin Parish several times this past week. And every time I went, I try to go a different way and catch up with some producers on my trip. And everywhere I looked, there was something going on. Just about every field had something going on in it. A lot of corn went in the ground this past week, which is a little bit early. Some of our more brave producers went on to put their toe in the water. So it's just exciting to see Northeast Louisiana be wide open and dust stirring up in fields. We're back in the full swing of the farming business. Uh, so a few things that we've got come through the office. Had some weed ID issues and some chemical recommendations. Everybody, just like Vince said, people are wondering what this is and how do I kill it? So that's the question that gets asked a lot in the springtime. If you have any questions with that, don't hesitate to reach out to your local extension office. And if it's a question that we don't know the answer to off the top of our head, we know how to find it for you. And that's one of the things that we're here for. Also, a lot of people have been coming in asking about soil testing and the procedure on that. Um, we're also here to help you interpret those soil data reports and help make recommendations on what to put out. So, guys, this is what we're here for, and been getting a lot of traction with that. A lot of people interested in trying to get some things kicked off for the summertime because now is whenever those decisions really are made that impact summertime grazing and hay production. Tell you one big one that has come up 3 times in the last couple of weeks is producers asking about keeping replacement heifers and the decision to be made there with these strong prices that we're seeing at the sale barn. What do I do with that? And it's been a different conversation with every person I've had because every producer's context is different. There's no one size fits all answer. There's no right answer for everybody. It's all depends on what your goals are, what your situation is, what your carrying capacity is, and so on and so forth. But it's been some people asking about their fall calves from this year because they're looking at weaning coming up here in the next few months, and the decision is going to be made then. Do I go ahead and put these on the road and send them to grass somewhere, or do I try and develop them myself? What's the availability of replacement heifers going to be this year in the first place? Am I better off to pay the money to buy one ready to go, or do I spend the money on developing it? And like I said, that's a producer to producer decision. That's not going to be one size fits all, but there's a few things to keep in mind. There's also the harder question is these guys that have kept these heifers for a year and developed them, and they're looking at time to breed coming up now, and the decision has to be made now. Am I about to breed this heifer, or am I about to put her on the road? Whenever you got a heifer that's weighing 800 pounds, I saw at our local auction this week some 800-pound heifers selling for around 260. When that 800-pound heifer is worth $2,080, it makes it a hard sell to tell somebody they need to put more money into her and keep her for replacement. But guys, don't let these big prices that we're seeing in the auction markets make you forget the importance of retaining heifers or buying replacement animals to keep in your herd. That's something that's important every year, and it doesn't matter what the price is. But this year, only keep the best. Be very critical of them whenever you're evaluating them. This might be a year where you want to get a vet in and do some repro track scores to make sure that every animal you keep is in the puberty stage that you think she is, and she will be ready to breed in this breeding window that you have designed. Might be a good year to take pelvic measurements because that's something just eyeballing a set of heifers. I don't care how good of an eye you've got for cattle. You can't know what a pelvic measurement is without taking that actual measurement, and that helps you determine whether or not she's going to have trouble delivering calf. That pelvic measurement is you measure out and then height by width, and then from a calculation you can determine the size calf approximately that she'll be able to have without issues. That might be a good tool to implement this year. Only keep animals that are downright solid and structurally sound. Don't keep anything that doesn't have enough bone in the leg or her angles are bad. Make sure you keep in moderate framed heifers. Also, that's something that over the last 15 to 20 years, we've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger until the average cow out in the country is 1,400 pounds. And frankly, guys, they cost a lot to feed, and you can get a lot of the same weaning weights and same growth and same explosive growth out of these calves out of a much more moderately framed cow. So I think it's important to keep that in mind, that whenever you're making your selections on heifers, to pick moderate frame size heifers. Another great thing that you can do is get your local extension agent out to look at a set of cows with you, or a trusted friend. Get another set of eyes is what I'm saying, because oftentimes you're going to be a lot more critical of your own cattle than somebody that didn't raise them, somebody that doesn't see them every day. And also somebody that doesn't see them every day might catch something that you've missed. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that happen. So just take everything into consideration this year. And if you want more resources on that, our YouTube page has a lot of great information on selecting and development of replacement heifers. It's a great place to check out. Lee trusted us with his market report. Guys, Lee Falk does a great job with this market report, so I'm just hoping to stumble through it and keep this thing on the road. It's no big secret, guys. The cattle market right now, it is hotter than a $2 pistol. And we're seeing prices locally. You know, we've seen big quotes out of Nebraska and South Dakota for years and years, but oftentimes these prices aren't realized locally. But we're seeing some quotes locally that make you do a double take and rival some of the prices that they're getting on the northern plains and elsewhere. Feeder calves might be starting to approach their ceiling, at least momentarily, because the live cattle market is kind of plateaued at $1.80 to $1.84. So until we can get some more growth on the top side with these fat cattle, it's going to have the feeder cattle market at least slowed down. Don't be expecting to see any huge gains in the feeder cattle market. Also, don't expect to see the floor to fall out of it, as long as we're keeping these live cattle prices around $1.80 to $1.84. One thing that might help us push that fed cattle price higher is we've seen an increase in the box beef cutout value, and that's been pushed especially hard by an increase in the value of our choice cuts. We've had pretty mild pretty mild temperatures nationwide, and that's got a lot of folks outside busting off the grill a little bit early this year, and seeing a lot of increase in the demand for our grilling cuts. And as y'all know, in the cattle business, that's one of the things that really pushes our market right there, is high demand for our choice cuts. So that's one thing we've got going for us that might help push the fed cattle prices higher. Little look at our local markets. We don't have good data for last cycle, so we're not going to do a percentage increase or a percentage decrease. But locally, for the 500-600 pound steers, we saw highs up to 306, which, guys, that is nothing to sneeze at. I don't care where you're at in this country. A 6-weight steer going for $3 a pound is something to take note of, which, like I said, that is the high end. But, guys, the low end's $1.98. Now, as y'all know, we don't have USDA market graders in our auction barns grading out ones and twos and quality on them, but that's pretty solid floor with a very impressive ceiling on that market report right there. And Vince mentioned earlier that cull cows and cull bulls were still strong. The high on cull cows for this week statewide was $1.21 with a floor of $1.81. I remember sending cows to the sale and just doing a tap dance that we got $1.81 for some cull cows. And now that's our floor that we're looking at. That's something to be excited about. It's also proof positive to not keep these non-productive cows in your herd. Every extension agent in the state of Louisiana, and matter of fact, I imagine the whole country, this is one thing that we're singing right now. If they are not paying their way, now is the time to send them to town. Now is the time to offload them. Let's take a brief look at cull bulls. Cull bulls are trading from $1.37 to 99 cents statewide. Solid prices, guys. That is a very brief market report for y'all. Next week, hopefully we'll have the time we come together for our next update. Hopefully we'll have 2 weeks of good data. That way we can resume tracking a net increase or a net decrease on it. But it's a great time to be in the industry, guys. Great time to be in the cow market. And I just pray that we can find some more room on our fed cattle trade to open up a little bit more room to discover even higher prices within our feeder cattle, because we're about to have a lot of cattle in Louisiana, a lot of feeder cattle coming out of Louisiana looking for a place to go. With that, Brittany, I'm going to turn it back over to you to go over upcoming events.
Thanks, Tripp. That was a great update on our markets. There was something while you were saying that I wanted to mention in mine, but I forgot earlier. I don't know if this is published yet on the Ag Center website, but I know our economist, Dr. Kurt Guidry, did send this out to us. And if it's not on the website, it will be soon. He had put together a document with the projected costs and returns, enterprise budgets for beef cattle and associated forage production in Louisiana for this year. So again, if it's not on our website yet, I know he said he was sending it over to communications so they could go ahead and get that finalized and uploaded on there. That's going to be a really good resource for you to be able to make your plans and see what those costs are going to be for you in this coming year. So a few events that we have coming up that were sent in. So next Saturday, March 16th, is going to be the Acadiana Spring Beef and Forage Field Day. That's going to be down at the Iberia Research Station in Jeanerette. It's from 8 to 2:30, and lunch will be provided for that event. April 10th, beginning at 6 p.m., Randi Toups will be hosting a BQA certification down in Raceland. And we'll go ahead and make sure that we have her contact info for anyone who in Raceland in that area who may be interested in attending that. Tripp earlier had told me he is planning a BQA certification as well. That's going to be held April 29th over in Winsboro. So anyone looking to attend that event, Tripp will have more information for y'all coming soon, but just wanted to keep that date, pencil that in your calendar there. And then finally, we have the Northwest Beef and Forage Field Day, which is going to take place Thursday, April 25th over at the Red River Research Station over in Bossier City. Also, thank you. I, of course, am still open to taking registrations, almost said reservations, registrations for the Master Cattleman program here in Opelousas. We have that deadline March 15th in order to get registration and payments in for that. And the class will start April 11th. That information is on our website, and my contact information will be available for anyone who wants more information on that as well. I believe in the Northwest area, Lee, they're hosting one. I believe it started in February, so I believe they're on like maybe week 2 or week 3 of theirs in the Northwest area. So I believe that's all we got for today.
I think so.
Yes. All right. Well, as it's we had to turn around a few times as it was pouring down rain, just looking out the window out there. So we've been getting these bits of rain on and off. Which again, yes, like both of you said, it is much needed. So with that, we'll go ahead and sign out, and we'll be back with another update in 2 weeks.